IDWF. So they have very rich experience to share, and on organizing domestic workers and care workers, especially how we make use of the care campaign for our rights as workers and as a person who needs cares. So before we will have them to share just something on the technical issues. So if you Common British will speak in Spanish. So when we have interpretation going on from Spanish to English, so if you want to hear the English interpretation, please click on the interpretation icon and click English. But for those who are listening to Khmer, Bahasa Indonesia, Portuguese, and Spanish, please stay on your own interpretation channels. Only for the English-speaking people, choose English interpretation channels. So I hope that is okay. Again, on the interpretation channel, we have interpretation going on Spanish, Portuguese, French on Nordic Zoom interpretation channel. For Bahasa Indonesia, we are using Russian Zoom channel. For Thai, we are using German. For Japanese, for Khmer, we are using Japanese.
Porque tengo que dar mi presentación. Si yo lo pongo en inglés, me escuchan. Si no, no me escuchan. Ahora sí, ahí estamos. Perfecto.
Okay, for Hindi, please choose Chinese. And then for English-speaking people, please choose English. Okay, we will hand over to Common British to share the experience from Opaque. Opaque is a very big union with over 85,000 members. They also have collective bargaining agreement with the employers. And recently they have a care campaign together with the government. So it's very, very important to hear how they do that and how the care campaign together with the government looks like, so that we can learn from them. Okay, I would like to hand over to you, Carmen, our Vice President and also the General Secretary for Opaque, Argentina.
¿Me escuchan?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Perfecto. I will see if I can share my presentation.
Bueno, buenos días a todas.
Well, good morning to everybody, to everyone and the executive committee to be here today. That is Sunday, and that we know that we're probably full of tasks and you have taken this time to be with us. We started the campaign Take Care of Who Cares for You because we consider that after 2017, when we started to work from the IDWF, the topic of care work with UniGlobal, all these learnings and all these presentations that we did at an international level started to think in Argentina how we could incorporate care work within our borders. One of the things that we presented was Convention 187. Why are we workers with rights at a global level? The origins. So these are the origins in Argentina and how we use the Convention 187. Through this Convention 189, we were able to get the law 26844. This is in 13th April 2013, where we got many benefits like retirement, vacations, leave, minimum salaries. This gave us a lot of strength to say that we were a sector of care work, and through here we were able to put together the tribunal of domestic sectors, that it was able to process all the affairs from the capital, and this categorize the activities. And this is very important because within this category we had the category of assistance to people, which was care work, and also with the little adolescent people. And this is very important because we were able for the first time to incorporate care work as one of the categories within domestic work. From there, we were able to have or get better salaries and articulate, like Fish said, the topic of the
la
commission in
Comisión Nacional de Casas
2015, the
Particulares para la
National Commission of homes. And so from there, we started to work on tripartite negotiations with the employers of the house, with the government and us. And I have to do this summary because I believe that we need to look backwards to see where we started in order for us that made it possible for us to incorporate or insert this topic in our conversation. And we had to create these spaces so that we had dialogues on care. So we created social dialogues with the government through the secretary of the women's ministry that invites us to participate in a campaign, which is to take care inequality. From the union, we gave support to this national campaign of equality in care, which recognizes the historical the rights of the workers and how it has been distributed on unequally through time. So that's where we started to the dialogue with the government to say that domestic workers do work by paid and unpaid work. The paid work is meant with our services in our family homes because or due to our task, and for that we receive payment. And the non-paid work, like Shirley mentioned, or like Myrtle mentioned, that who are the people who take care of our children? Who are the people who take care of our family? From that questions, we started to negotiate with different trade unions in other activities where many trade unions paid their domestic workers, like the police trade union, for example, that pays their domestic workers. So what we agree with them is to modify the collective agreement so that not only that money is paid to the child care centers so that their workers can go there and can take care of their children as a subsidy of their work. So it's kind of like linking if there's any domestic workers in their house that also have their children, as an employer, they could give their employee, if they have them registered, so that they can also bring their subsidy to them. So this is the work that we have been working and in conversation with different trade unions, and many different trade unions in Argentina do pay a subsidy to, for example, the childcare centers. So what we want is to incorporate to this collective agreement the care workers, so that they can also receive that subsidy through the employer so that they can pay the worker or the care workers, so that the employer is basically subsidizing. So how are we doing this, and how are we doing the dialogue so that these collective agreements can change, so that basically the employer can pay the employee who has another employee and makes sure that registers their workers. And so the worker that can present the registration as a domestic worker, that the worker can receive the subsidy. So this is something that we're trying to achieve. On the other hand, this the campaign of taking care inequality, we're trying to promote the consciousness or the increase of awareness, the customs, the habits, the thematics, so that we can cover this topic, looking at it from a federal overview. What do we mean? That it is federal, that it is national, all everywhere, not only on one sector. And how are we building this campaign? What we're doing is that in each province where we are launching the campaign, what we're doing is to articulate with everyone in the state, all the ministries, the needs of domestic workers, so that we can better work care as care workers. What do we need from the government to achieve this? What can we do so that we can say we're workers with the rights, and we're workers and we're care workers? And what are the actions that the government should do so that the worker has the tools to have or be able to have their grandparents, their children as part of the care system, so that the government can recognize their responsibilities towards the care workers. From this campaign, what we started was a national round of increasing awareness, and this is being presented in every single province of the nation where the union UPACP has the representation of domestic workers. When we launched this campaign at a national level, it was very important that the federation was also part of the launch, because the international figure and the space that we occupied at an international level is very important, and that's how it's recognized by the state in Argentina. We participated as well in all the dialogues of all care work that we're doing, in which, as you will see, each and every different trade unions that are even on other sectors and that are also recognizing the care work and domestic work, or recognizes domestic care work as part of domestic work, and they're including us in the conversation. And this is important because we have legislators, senators, deputies, and this is important because these are the people that can help us to insert this topic or care work in the conversations at a national level. Last week, we signed an act of commitment, a commitment to struggle that is also in relation to care with the Provincial Ministry of Women. And here in Argentina, there's two. One that is national and another one which is at a provincial level. This sector of care work is important for the ministry because she says that this is a sector that has fought historically for the non-invisibility and the lack of rights that we have suffered, and the labor rights must be covered or must cover care work. Not only, it also has to do with rights in terms of recognition of care work, but also it needs to be incorporated to the sector of domestic work where we suffer a lot of violence and harassment. So we were able to sign this agreement where we're going to work together in campaign, not only on work, but on on the convention 190 that we're very near to ratification. Also, the incorporation of gender within our sector is important, this topic that has to do specifically with the LGBT conversation that we're going to continue working, incorporating all the sectors, because in Argentina, we do not have that differentiation of domestic workers or with migrant workers or in gender or sexual differences that any person can have. So the incorporation of gender, and there has to be in its totality of all workers. In Argentina, we have no differences within domestic work as a different work for whether migrant or national. Here, the law protects everyone with no distinction of any kind. And we say that
Filipino sa Domestic Caretaker Union from Taiwan.
and we have to have a work without violence, within domestic work. So thank you, and any doubt, I am here to answer any questions. For us, it's an honor to be able to articulate and discuss and have this possibility for me today, and even the state that can see that the state can see us as a part of care work, and that we're working with different unions and at a national level. For us, this is very important. So we need to continue the conversation, and the Federation is having an important impact, the support that we get from the Federation, and that the voices of one is the voices of everyone. It's not only the Argentinian voice. When we started doing the dialogues with the different ministries, we always say the voice of Argentina is a global voice, and all the voices that represent the Federation. So many thanks.
Thank you, Carmen. We are sorry for the Thai interpretation. We have been trying to fixing it. Yeah. And for those English-speaking people, you can see on your device there is an interpretation icon. If you are using a computer, click that and then choose English for English speaker when you hear other languages. And if you are using a mobile phone, you can see 3 dots with 3 dots more on right bottom, and click that, and then you can see language interpretation and choose English and click done to hear the English interpretation. But the following 2 speakers will be speaking in English. So for the moment it's fine. So thank you very much for Carmen. So before that, I would like to check again if the interpretation for Thai is ready or not. Sorry for that. Please wait for a while. We would like to check again the Thai interpretation to make sure that.
I'm sorry, Fiz. For Russian channel also there is no interpreter.
Yeah. We know that. We know that.
Okay.
We are checking
Thank you.
that. Yeah, we know that. We're well aware that. So that's why we are saying. So yeah, the Russian means the Thai interpretation. Yeah, Thai means Russian Zoom interpretation. So Yanni, please choose. Do you have your second device ready? But anyway, we will have the following speakers speaking in English. So for the moment, it's fine. I hope the Thai interpretation on Zoom Russian channel will go as well. Thank you, Carmen. Again, we would like to ask Doug Moore from UDWA of the USA to share their experience. They are also one of our largest affiliates in the IDWF. And when they start, actually, they start with the campaign for in-house supportive service program, which they demand for their government to provide care for the people, and also those care workers dispatched to different private households to provide care will have decent work. So there were times when there is a high turnover of the care workers in this in-house supported government service program, and then they were able to demand for better treatment. So I would like to hand over to you, to Damore, to sorry if my pronunciation of your name is not correct. We would love to hear your sharings. Hand over to you, Damore.
Thank you, Fish, and greetings to everyone. My union, United Domestic Workers, is made up of almost 140,000 home care and child care workers. Our home care members all work for the California In-Home Supportive Services Program, or IHSS. IHSS is a state program funded by national, state, and local sources that provides personal care services to low-income seniors and people with disabilities. IHSS personal care services include things like dressing, bathing, helping shower or bathe or go to the bathroom, cleaning, and accompanying to doctor visits and light medical care. These services allow IHSS clients to live in their homes and not in institutions. The care work that our members do allows people to live well and to live with dignity. IHSS was created 4 decades ago as part of the disability rights movement. IHSS was meant to address America's long, sad history of neglecting older people and people with disabilities by shutting them away in institutions. Unlike in some other cultures, notably the indigenous people that the United States colonized, America discriminates against older people and they seek to hide them away. And people with disabilities still struggle to get accommodations that allow them to fully participate in society. IHSS keeps people in their homes and lets them live the life they choose to live. Now, many of our members provide IHSS services for a family member. For example, a parent with a disabled child would take on the job of being their caregiver, or an adult child would take on the care of their aging parent. There are tens of thousands of Californians being cared for by someone in their community through the IHSS program. This is an efficient, person-centered approach to care. But because over half of IHSS providers care for a family member, many in government see it as a babysitter type position that should be paid very little, if at all. Now, this is not helped by the complicated status of our workers. Though they work for a state program, they are not state employees, and the state doesn't set their pay. Their pay is set at the local level or the county level. They are neither public nor private workers. Legally, they are considered quasi-public workers whose employer is their client. This status makes IHSS caregivers easy targets for economic discrimination. Thousands of our members are stuck at minimum wage with no health benefits. We also represent a growing number of family child care providers. These workers care for children in their homes and are paid either by the child's parents or a subsidy program that covers the parent's cost on a means-tested basis. And like home care providers, these child care workers have a complicated status. Though they are technically a small business, they are at the mercy of reimbursement rates set by the subsidy programs. And because they are small business people, they are paid in profit, not wages. But because the rates they are able to charge are so low, these childcare providers are left with very little after paying their assistants and buying food and supplies. Their real take-home pay is often the equivalent of half of the minimum wage. In many ways, our member status, neither fully employees or bosses, is similar to informal domestic work. But But there are many other things we have in common with the international domestic workers movement. Our entire membership, both home caregivers and child care providers, is by majority women and people of color. Domestic workers and farm workers were written out of the National Labor Relations Act, specifically because the work was done primarily by people of color. Our members work in homes, isolated and without access to traditional workplace organizing tactics. We have had to fight for things like overtime and sick pay that are guaranteed to other workers. We are also an international workforce. PHI estimates that 1 in 4 care workers nationwide is an immigrant, with that percentage being even higher among home care workers. Many of our members are immigrants, and we bring traditions of caring from other countries. That also means, like many domestic workers worldwide, our members are disproportionately impacted by anti-immigrant oppression. We see it every day in the US. Traditional labor unions represent workers by fighting for better pay, benefits, and working conditions. But because so many forms of oppression intersect to keep our members down, we must fight on many fronts to lift them up. Yes, we fight for better pay and benefits for care workers we represent. We do that every day. But we also fight to change the culture of policing that threatens many members simply because of the color of their skin. We fight for environmental justice so that their families can be free of the polluted air and water that is most prevalent in Black and brown communities. We fight for immigration reform so every family has the right to be safe, to work, to go to school, and to live their dreams regardless of their immigration status. We fight for a better child care system so every family can have access to quality, affordable care, and every provider can take care of their own families. We fight for equal pay for women, LGBTQ justice, voting rights, and so much more. UDW members, like domestic workers everywhere, are working to make our lives better so everyone's lives can be better. Domestic workers all have 2 things in common: empathy and humility. The grace required to care for a loved one is something that is truly a superpower that caregivers possess. And one day, the world will realize this and look to caregivers to lead us to a better world. Until then, we need to build the widest network of domestic workers possible to create the power to make change. Our members are proud to work with our sisters and brothers worldwide through the International Domestic Workers Federation. Together, we can lead the way to a world where workers' rights are based on kindness and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore. It's very nice And it's good that you speak slowly because we have so many interpretation is going on. It's very clear. So in summary, we are talking about care, love, and justice. We provide love and care to the people, and at the same time, we should be cared and be loved with justice, with decent working conditions. And also one thing to be noted is that 1/4 of the care workers, those who provide these love and care, are the immigrants, are the people of the color. So this is so important to get notice of. And we do have a number of affiliates who are organizing migrant domestic workers, and these, when we are talking about labor issues, is also about migrants and immigrants issues, talking about the immigration laws and policies. Thank you very much. Nice to hear from you. I can see some of you has left some questions in the chat box. Please keep on sharing if you have any questions. We will take it noted, and then we will ask the 3 speakers at the end of their presentations before we can have the breakout rooms for group discussions. Thank you again, Doug. We would like to go to another places, another region. We'd like to invite Grace Papa from Belgium ACV CVC. Is also one of the largest affiliates of the IDWF, which organize the care workers and domestic workers in Belgium. And also many of them, their members are immigrants as well. So hand over to you, Grace. Do you want me to share screen, or you share your PowerPoint from your side? Grace? Is Grace here? I don't see Grace. May I? Okay. I don't see Grace around. Maybe let me ask Nelly. Nelly asked a question. Do you have minimum wage implemented? If yes, how much? I think this can be a question for both Doug Moore and Carmen Brites. Can you share? Minimum wage.
Bueno, nosotros sí tenemos salario mínimo, tenemos...
Yes, we do have a minimum wage. We have domestic, we have 5 categories for domestic workers. That discussions, we have the National Commission of Auxiliaries of Domestic Workers, where we discuss the salaries with tripartite sittings. We have a base of minimum salary, which the employer cannot pay below, but yes, they can pay above that line, and it is stipulated that amount on each category. The 4th, which is one of the care categories, although all of them are related to care, but the one that is for adult and children and teenagers is the category with the highest rate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Since the Bahasa Indonesia interpretation was not on, let me summarize a bit. For Argentina, they have minimum wage for domestic workers, and there are 5 categories of domestic workers. And the minimum wage, which is really the minimum, the employer can pay more than this minimum line, and the wage level is decided by a tripartite body, by the workers and employers and the governments. And also, may I ask Doug Moore, do you have minimum wage as well in your for the care workers? Doc, please. Yes. Doc Moore, do you want to add about the question on the minimum wage? Maybe it's, okay. So, okay, we can ask the questions later. So we'll see if Grace is again here, so we can hear. Okay, Grace is joining now. So we should have her joining. Okay, Doug, would you like to share your experience about the minimum wage in the USA for care workers? Hello. Okay. So maybe okay, sorry. Okay, we are waiting for Grace. She is going. Okay, from Essie, she is asking what is the commonality between domestic workers and care workers. What is the difference? Are there difference between domestic workers and care workers? And this is a question for Doc. We don't hear you, Doc. Please unmute yourself. Is your mic on? We don't hear you. Okay. Doc reply. Yeah. Doc reply in the message saying that they have minimum wage, and it varies from county to county, from 13 to 15 US dollar. Maybe we can ask Carmen on the difference or commonalities between domestic workers and care workers. This is quite confusing sometimes. So may I have Carmen to answer on these questions?
I am here.
Sí. Nosotros en
okay.
Argentina no
Yes,
diferenciamos.
we in Argentina do not differentiate the care workers sector. For us, all the categories are the same as care workers, with the difference that we have the fourth category, which is specific for the adult, seniors, and children. But what makes us different from the employers is that they have unpaid care work, because employers, they do care work within their homes. So what we were able to do was an alliance with our employers, where we gave the support of the employers' unpaid care work, and they also recognize the paid and unpaid care work that domestic workers do. For us in Argentina, the concept of care work is that all workers, regardless of the activity that is made within the house, is care worker.
Thank you. So it's very clear. So domestic workers are care workers are domestic workers in Argentina's case. So we are happy
Can you
for.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Okay. So Grace, please wait a bit. Yeah. So would you like to answer the question on the differentiation between care workers and domestic workers?
In California, they're one and the same. Care workers are those who take care of, like for our members, the elderly and disabled in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's child care providers, which is a separate entity, and they're small businesses that take care of children while people go to work. The subsidies are the payments that if you have a low-wage job, the state provides a subsidy for child care.
I see. So that the work that they are doing have government subsidies, and yeah. Okay, I hope this.
Excuse me, can I speak about domestic worker also, the work of domestic worker? Because I am a domestic worker here in Kuwait.
Yes, please, please, because we have three presenters, in order to have a better control of the time, we would like to suggest to hear the three speakers first, and then afterwards we will have group discussions. So you will have the sharings with everybody in your own group, because we have now 143 participants. So we would like to prioritize to hear the interesting experience from our chosen speakers. But of course, everybody's have very, very rich experience. You can also share your experience in the chat box, and then we'll arrange time for you to speak and share later on. I hope this is fine for Josephine.
Yes, yes, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you for your patience. And so I'd like to hand over to Grace. Sorry, because of the change of the winter and summertime. So maybe we are wrong when we send out the time information on the time. Yeah, so would you like to share the screen, or I should share from my side, Grace?
If you can share it, it would be perfect.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Grace from Belgium, and I'm an EXCO member, IDWF EXCO member.
Okay, let me turn on. Okay.
Okay, so you are going to pass the slides. So like I said, I was going to speak about care workers, in-house domestic care workers in Belgium. I work for ACV Food and Services, and I'm regional officer for the Brussels region. And so in Belgium, we have two types of domestic workers. We have the documented domestic workers and the undocumented domestic workers, like in a lot of countries. So the documented domestic workers are formal workers recognized by law and benefit from all labor and social protection and collective agreements. Undocumented domestic workers are informal workers. They cannot benefit from labor and social protection regulations or sectoral collective agreements. Undocumented domestic workers, they do just the same work, they are just not protected nor recognized. We are going to focus today on documented domestic workers. So it is slide 3. If you can put fish slide 3, it would be good. Can you show me slide 3?
Yeah, Zoom is stuck. It's stuck.
Oh. So I was saying that we are going to focus on the documented domestic workers because in our country we have an interesting system that might be interested to hear for other affiliates. So again, there is 3 types of documented domestic workers. The first one is the cleaning domestic workers, which we are not concentrating concentrated today, but you have to know that the Belgian government created a sector that is subsidized by the government. It is a system where domestic workers can clean the houses to the clients. So, and it's very cheap for families. It is a voucher system, and so domestic workers have a contract with a company that provide for clients. The clients are the families. They have regular paid salary, sectoral regulations, salary scale. They have also company regulations. They are allowed to be represented as a shop steward in their company to defend their rights. The salary of the cleaning domestic workers is approximately €11.65, could be higher, could be less. This is like the sum of the minimum and the minimum wage, and it's depending of it depends of your seniority in the sector. So it's 11.65 gross per hour. It's maximum 38 hours a week. The travel expenses are paid by the employer, and they participate and can contribute and benefit from social security like maternity leave and the right to sick leave, etc. So that is one type of documented domestic workers in Belgium. And then on slide 4, you have the care worker, in-house care worker that also does the cleaning. We call them the putzhulpen, which means clean help cleaners. It is exact the same system, so it has been created by the government and subsidized by the government. It's the same system, but the client must be a person or a family that need to be medically taken care of. And the workers are responsible for cleaning the house, only the cleaning, but they are trained to react if the client has medical needs. They are not authorized to perform medical procedures, but they work in a multidisciplinary team. They are therefore in direct contact with the doctors, nurses, and care assistants in order to offer the best care to the patient. The salary is a little bit higher, and it increases higher as cleaning domestic workers, so the first one, and it increases each year. It is between €11 per hour and €15.5 per hour gross, depending on the seniority, level of education, and the function. Because in this sector, they also have responsibility function. People that are responsible for a region, and so you have the possibility to be responsible of other domestic workers. The maximum working hours per week is 38 hours a week. A large part of the travel expenses are also paid by the employer, and they participate also in the social security and contribution and benefits from it, like all contract workers in Belgium. So they also have right to sick leave, maternity leave, etc. And then we have the third type of care workers, domestic care workers, and that is called care at home, gezinszorg. We are representing also these workers. Our union does that. So it is in-house care workers. So you have workers that are in charge of maternity care services. When you just had a child, you can ask for help to take care of your children, for everything from nursing and giving breastfeeding, etc., etc. Then you have the care sick child. When you have a sick child and you have to go work, you can call this company that is subsidized by the government. It's also it's a private, and it's a mix just between private and subsidized by the government. So you have care sick child, you have child care. You have also support in raising and caring for children. For example, you have very difficulties to raise your children. You can ask for help in raising those children. For example, how you educate them to eat clean at a table, how to help them, to educate them with helping to clean the house, or helping your parents in their duties. Then you have family care, that is personal care. So body care, help with washing people, most of the time they are elderly people, help with eating and drinking, help with changing clothes and toilets, support with exercise, assistance with the use of certain medication, replacing anastomy, that is something that's very very well done by these caregivers. You have also, before we talk about psychosocial, there is also observing and reporting temperature of the patient, bowel movements, symptoms of dysfunctions, and side effects of treatments, therapy, compliance, etc. Then you have also psychosocial. It's not psychological, because that has to be done by a professional, but you have psychosocial support during emotional or difficult moments. Most of the time it is when you lose your husband or your wife, when you're elderly and you need some psychosocial support, to talk, to ask for someone to come over to have like a cup of tea or a coffee, and to talk about everything. Support with your administration and family budgets, social contracts, relaxing activities, mobility problems, rehabilitation, and therapy compliance. Then you also have night care, and you have a lot of other things. Slide 6. For the care workers, you have the salary, and this is a salary, less salary. You have that is increased each year based on seniority.
It's all unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Grace.
Okay,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
okay, we don't need to hear it. That's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, you go on, Grace.
Okay, I'm going on. So the salary increases each year based on seniority. So the first year, for example, is in 11.20 euro gross per hour, but you also can go to till 19.45 euro per hour gross after 30 years. So it's very well and very much increasing during the years on. It's also maximum 38 hours a week. A large part of the travel expenses are paid by employers again, and they participate, of course, in the social security contribution and benefits from it, like all contract workers in Belgium. For the night care, of course, they have a bonus. Slide 7. About organizing workers in the domestic workers care sector. That is something that is, of course, very difficult. All domestic workers working in the existing systems are part of a joint federal commission composed of employers and workers' representatives. Together, they negotiate collective labor agreements that apply to all the workers in the sector. So every worker can benefit from the collective agreements that has been made by employers and workers. Trade unions play an important role at the sectoral level, but also in the company. 70% of domestic care and non-care workers are affiliated to one of the 3 trade unions. So we are very lucky. We have a high level of affiliation in Belgium, which is very easy for us. I know that. And so they are entitled to all the services offered by the trade union organization. At the individual level, of course, they benefit from information on legislation, assistance with multiple claims to the employer, legal assistance in the context of complaints to the employer, assistance and advocacy in court, etc., etc., etc. You know all of that. You just, I imagine you do the same. At the company level, workers can be elected from other workers every 4 years to be the shop steward. So the elected shop stewards have a meeting every month. It is obligatory every month with the employer to discuss several aspects in the company, like the finance, economic situation, the well-being at work for workers, and negotiation for better working conditions. This is something that's very used to happen in this sector, and I must say that we train them. We train our shop stewards to be on point and to be good in this type of negotiation. And the last slide. So organizing workers in union, it is, like, you know, a scattered sector. The workplace is a private place, so we cannot come in. It is difficult to meet the workers there. And since most of the workers are affiliated with one union organization and many have difficulties in the workplace, it is the workers who come to our offices. So again, we are very lucky, and we meet them in our organizations. We communicate with our affiliates by email and regularly send them the new sectoral regulations negotiated by the social partners. So we keep them aware of what is happening in the sector and what is applied to them. We make calls for mobilization by post, by email, by text messages, WhatsApp, Facebook, everything, and regularly organize information meetings open to all workers in the sector. So they come, it is approximately once a week that we meet in the evening, and they just all come and we train them, we talk with them about problems, etc. We are fortunate to be able to count on the mass mobilization of our workers in the sector, both in the streets and on social networks. This has made it possible to unblock complicated negotiations. The most complicated thing is to organize actions in the company. Like I said, the work within the families, and it is workers at clients' premises. The client not being the negotiator, it is difficult to organize a symbolic action apart from the organization of a collective strike. Here again, it is difficult to convince all workers to go on a strike. It happens it happened only once last year, and it was a great success. But it only happened once in approximately 15 years that the sector exists. Voila, that was my presentation. I hope I didn't speak too fast. And if you have questions or comments, please.
There's a lot of questions to our 3 speakers actually, but we are already overrun unfortunately. But we could record all the questions. There were questions on the working conditions and also on the organization's status, weakness, and strength. So we will
maybe we can. Excuse me, because they ask if we could share the presentation. So to me, it's not a problem, so you can share it.
Yeah, we will share the record, and for the questions, we will ask our three speakers for the answers, and then we will share together with the meeting, with the workshops minutes. Okay, we are overrun. So all in all, from what I can hear from our three speakers is organizing is the basic in order to have better care surveys and working conditions for those who provide care. So this is the fundamental for the care. So for our friends, please stop your screen share because I'm going to share a very inspiring video. So I try to share from my side. Okay. Please wait for a moment. I will check with my, where's my, sorry. Please wait for a while. My slides gone. So meanwhile, please mute yourself. Sorry for that because we really have many people on the meeting. So yeah, sorry. Okay, it's coming. Wait, yeah, 去咗邊？ sorry. 死啊！ Moment, please. Technical issues.
The COVID-19, the COVID.
Sorry again. You're sharing though. The one in plan there. Hả? 我揾唔到嗰個。揾到啦。
The COVID-19 pandemic has vividly highlighted how much society depends upon care workers. The heroic work being done by healthcare workers and home care workers to save lives worldwide in dangerous, exhausting conditions is unprecedented. Those same workers are often left unprotected by governments and systems that have failed to recognize these workers and failed to supply them with enough personal protective equipment, supplies, and resources to do their jobs.
Domestic workers, as any other workers, should be given a stimulus package to survive in this pandemic time. We still have families to provide food and shelter for, and therefore, this workforce should not be neglected in these troubled times.
Domestic workers need care because they're a major sector in the care economy. order to protect their labor rights, to have maternity leave, and to have employment contracts, and finally, to secure their future through social protection.
Las trabajadoras del hogar, para nuestros cuidados necesitamos políticas públicas.
Domestic workers, we need public workers on occupation.
Ambiente de trabajo.
As a domestic workers, we need care as other workers do. We need social protection and hazard pay.
Por ser trabajadoras domésticas necesitamos que nos den el derecho a la seguridad social y a un salario digno.
Why can domestic worker need care?
We need to build a community of care. Domestic workers' livelihood are at risk. Include domestic workers in your plan of action. Help us to help ourselves. Thank you.
That's why we urge our governments to take action and to care for those who care for us.
Care work is decent work, and decent work should be respected from murder.
Thank you so much for our leaders who contributing your feelings about care, and especially how domestic workers also need care as well when we are providing care to many others, especially in this COVID-19, taking the health of the peoples of and the employers. So if you may aware, in the IDWF Congress last time in 2018 in South Africa, the IDWF has adopted resolutions. There are 3 resolutions we adopted on care. That resolutions talk about we should have quality child care for domestic workers as well, because many rural migrants and cross-border migrants, they take care of the children of the employers, but our own children are left behind without any government support and services for the child care of our own child. And we also demand in our resolutions a comprehensive system of care, as you have here good examples from Belgium, USA, and Argentina, that the government do support and provide subsidies for care surveys. And these care surveys should be in good quality and should provide good working conditions and recognize these care and domestic workers as labor and in the working conditions protections. And we can also see there is a growing crisis of care because there have been more countries who are aging, more older and elderly people. And meanwhile, we have poorer countries who migrate to all these richer countries to do domestic work and care work. And the government are kind of having providing less support to care service. So actually the government is depriving the domestic workers by lowering their wages and working conditions so that for their aging populations. So this is of course very unfair. So I hope we can give a very good handful of ideas from the videos and from the previous sharings, and we will have a group discussion. I think 15 minutes. We are already a bit overrun. But before we will have group discussions, I'd like to invite Elizabeth, our General Secretary, to mention a bit of the international focus, especially in this current time, on COVID-19 and why it's so important for domestic workers right now to talk about care is in this wider topic. So Elizabeth, may I have you on the stage, please?
Hello. Yeah, it's my pleasure to be with you, and I enjoy listening to our leaders who have just presented about the care, different kind of care workers conditions and their fight in Argentina, in the US, and also in Belgium. Actually, is started around the same time when we had our last Congress in 2018. That the topic of care workers, the topic of care economy at the UN agencies level. In the same year, actually 2018, the ILO published a report on the future of work focusing on care economy. Basically, it helped us to see the future. There will be a lot of potentials to grow more jobs in the care economy because of the aging population, because of increasing care needs of families. More and more parents, both men and women, will have full-time jobs, so the need for home care is forever on the increase. So this is a sector, the care sector, is where a lot of jobs are possible. But then we don't just need jobs, but we need decent work. So when we push government to create more jobs, to invest in this care economy, invest in care jobs, we have to make sure that they invest enough so that the workers, including domestic workers who are in this sector, will have decent work. And this year is the 25th anniversary of the Beijing platform, the Beijing platform of action is about achieving gender equality. I think many of you are not aware of this Beijing conference 25 years ago, but it was the first time that governments came together to make pledges on how they will achieve gender equality. And this year is the 25th years anniversary. And to mark this anniversary, governments have come together and identify some of the topics that they will examine how far they have achieved or they have not achieved the pledges they have made 25 years ago. And one of these action points is on economic justice and rights. And here they the UN agency, such as the UN Women, is focusing on care economy and care work, because most of the women provide care and whether they are paid and unpaid. So we see the need to achieve equal distribution of unpaid care work, but also provision of care between women and men with decent work. So we don't know how much individual governments will take action to implement the UN goals, but that is something we have to watch out. And for your information, there are 5 governments which are on this action committee, which are the governments of South Africa, from Mexico, Germany, Sweden, and Spain. And of course, all governments are obliged to take action, to make policies, to take measures, to implement, to improve the care economy and care work in order as an action point to achieve economic justice and rights. Okay, to sum up, we just have to be mindful and to watch out, when government will start picking up this topic, and make sure we will jump on them, and that they must act on making our work decent. Thank you. So I will let you go to your group and work in your own group on what you see are the priorities for actions in your own country, in your region, and also by the IDWF. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. As you may hear from the news, when we have the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been also discussion about how much the government is investing on care. If you are diminishing your government budget on care and health, then your country at the end will be suffering. Not only those workers on care and health will be suffering, but actually the society at large will at the end suffer, and that makes up the whole economies to go down. So that's why we must make use of this time to talk about care, how important it is. When care is mostly done by women, that's why the patriarchal society and the governments is suppressing domestic workers, because they see care work and domestic work as women work, as if they don't need to pay and they don't want to pay. So that's why we must enlarge our voice as much as possible in our village, in our city, in our country, as well as in the UN. As Myrtle always say, we have to rock the ILO, we have to rock the UN agencies to talk about care. So now the time we would like to hand over to you all. We will break you into different groups so that you can have more sharing among you. We will do the breakout rooms per region and per language. So when you register, we already assign you into different groups. The Asian will stay in the floor, meaning you don't need to move to the Zoom breakout room. And then the Africans, English and Portuguese speaking people will move to the group 2. And group 3 will be French speaking Africans. Group 4 will be our European sisters and brothers. And group 5, MENA region, Middle East and Middle East region. And then group 6, our North American and Caribbean English speaking. And Juanita, sorry that we would like to put you into Latin American group, which are Spanish and Portuguese speaking in group 7. So I would like to remind you as well, it's our first time for the IDWF to use Zoom in these breakout rooms. We don't know if this Zoom breakout works on or not, so we would have a try. So if it doesn't work out, the breakout room, we will come back. We will bring everybody to the floor, to the plenary, and discuss on the floor. But we also want to have a try, because we have never do that. And if and we are successful, then next time we can have another online workshop again with our affiliates to be able to have group discussions. So may I ask the host, is the breakout room ready? Not yet? Still assigning? Okay, so right now, Matt, our communication officer, is assigning you into groups. So we have 140, 150 people. So it takes a little bit of time. So I hope you can wait for a while. And in the group discussion, our interpreters will also go on to do interpretation, but some of you may need to do interpretation on WhatsApp in some of the breakout rooms. And for Asian, please stay in the floor because we have several Asian language interpretations. So so I hope the host, when it's ready, then give me signal to me so that we can start. So we'll see how the breakout rooms go, and then maybe we can have 15 minutes for discussion, and each group please discuss the topic. How shall we use the venue of care as an advocacy for all of us, so that we can make use of this moment to talk about care economy when the UN and the UN women is talking about care. We would like to make use of this good moment to highlight our wants. So the questions, again, only one question for your group discussion. What are the possible venues for advocacy on care and care work? Or you may frame it, invest in care for the government in your region, on your regional or country context. Again, what are the possible advocacy venue for all of us on care in your region and country? One question only, and please discuss for 15 minutes. And each region, each group, please assign a note taker and presenter, and present two most important insights. We need only 2 words from you. 2 insights means 2 words because we have limited time. And then, yeah, so I'll hand over to the breakout room. So after 15 minutes, you all will be brought back to the floor. We can start now, I think. Yeah, the breakout room. So for all Asian, we'll stay in the floor, in the plenary. So we are arranging the breakout room, and we will have facilitators. For Latin America, Adriana and Fernanda will be doing facilitation. For Francophone African, we will have Essie to facilitate. And for English-speaking African, we will have Vicky to facilitate. Karen will do facilitation for Europe, and Laura and Rula will do a facilitation for the MENA region. Yeah, and North America and Caribbean, we are happy to have Karina from IDWF to do facilitation for the Latin America, for the North America and Caribbean region. So I repeat the questions again. What are the possible advocacy venue with on care and care work in your region and country context? So we are waiting for the group discussion. So sorry, we are still figuring out the breakout rooms. I hope it can come soon. So meanwhile, again, the question is only one question we want to talk. It's all about on the advocacy, how we can make use of this time when when news and UN agencies are talking about care. We would like to highlight domestic workers, the importance of care, and do the advocacy so that we can increase our organizing. Everybody can have good quality care service, and while we provide care, we can be provided with proper labor conditions. Okay. Thanks for your patience. We are still figuring out the breakout rooms. Thank you for your patience. We are still checking on the breakout rooms. Hope we can make it. And I hope you know your group, so it's based on the region and also the languages. And please, every group should assign one person to do presentation. Sorry, we are still assigning the group breakout room. So we have taken note of different questions. Some of you asked about the minimum wage, how many hours, how to differentiate, do you differentiate domestic work and care work, and whether you are included in the labor law. Yeah, and our Taiwanese sisters is saying that how to fight for inclusion of domestic workers in the labor law. Sorry that we are still figuring out the breakout room. Thank you for your patience. Please wait for a while so that we can figure out the group breakout rooms. Or if you have anything, you can also say it now before we can fix the breakout room. I think some of you is already on the breakout rooms, probably. So most of you are in the breakout room already. So that's why you can see the list of participants is less. Okay, so for Asian, I think Nikan, you can facilitate.
Oh, yes, sure. Yeah, I'm just still figuring out how to turn on my camera because it was turned off. Okay. Hello, everybody. You're in the Asia breakout room. Welcome. I'm Nikan, the program officer for Asia. So basically, Fizz has already mentioned the question. I will just repeat the question once again, and I will give it to the floor on the discussion because we have a very limited time. So the question again, what are the possible advocacy venues or areas where we can make advocacy on care work, on care or care work. If anybody here in the breakout room want to have your opinion, just please do so. Raise your hand using the chat, or you can just speak. There are around 73 people here. I'm not sure if I don't think that this is all Asians. I saw
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah. So yeah, for any one of you who want to speak, just please. So basically, we have heard from the very insightful presentation from California, Argentina, and Belgium how the condition of the care workers and domestic workers in their countries. Domestic workers and care workers, slightly different types, but actually almost the same. But then all of you who are in Asia might be a little bit have some idea, because we can see there are quite different condition and context of the condition of domestic workers and care workers in Asia, and compared to those in California, Argentina, or Belgium. So if you might catch the idea, what are the difference for our Asian context? So we can start from there, maybe.
Hi, from Taiwan.
Hi. Yes. Great. Bonang, please. I will
Hi. Yeah. For now, our situation is quite very hard because Taiwan is not part of China, and we think the domestic worker in Taiwan is already compromised by the bilateral relation of the Philippines and Taiwan. So even we push to change the policy that we must include in the labor standard law, the problem is there is no legislator who are willing to support to make a law for like a law that can protect our rights. So for now, we are trying to find the solution how we can talk the government, both Philippine and Taiwan government, to and some legislator in Taiwan who will be willing to support to make a law to protect our rights, because we are not a voter here, so no legislator are supporting the migrant worker or domestic worker to make a draft law. So it's quite very hard now, and also the situation of Taiwan and China.
Yes,
So
I
that's
got
the
it.
big problem now.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Bonang. So it's very important point that migrant domestic workers' rights, as a provider of care in Taiwan, especially, shall be included within the policy. So that's what I will note it here. Any other sisters who have another opinions or inputs? I'm repeating the question again. What are the possible area for advocacy on care works? You can say about your country or your region.
Hi, Nikin.
Hi, Lizel.
Yeah, okay. For us here in Malaysia, actually, as we all know, domestic workers is not part of in the Employment Act. It was called domestic servant. But the other week, as we are part of or as a representative for the migrant workers during the AFML, So we really put like a strong recommendation to the government to recognize the domestic workers and also make the or implement or domestic workers that they have to process the recommendations, the CSOs, the NGOs, and also the migrant workers recommendations for the domestic workers. So we really emphasize that the other week during the AFML discussion preparation for the coming AFML in Vietnam on November. So that's how we did. Aside from aside from talking to every time when we're talking to the government like that, so we really recommend to them that they must include domestic workers in the Employment Act, or they must amend the Employment Act from domestic servant to domestic workers.
Yes. Okay. The message is very clear, Lizelle. Include domestic workers in the Employment Act. Revise the domestic servant term. And yeah, of course, recognize domestic work as work. Okay, thank you. We got a very two clear messages. I would like to invite any one of you here who wants to voice your
I can
opinions.
hear you, Niken.
Check. You can't hear me? Check, check.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
It's low.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
okay, good. Yes. Any one of you sisters who want to add some more opinions, please, on how can we use this care economy narrative to advance, to push on domestic workers' agenda? So we have been talking about the migrant domestic workers here to be included in the policy. We also have been talking about domestic workers as a sector itself. It's really important to be recognized as workers and included in the Employment Act, especially in Malaysia. And I know this also applies to many Asian countries as well. Is there anything else? What about pension, social security? Because I heard the message from the video from Novi and from Dang that we as domestic workers also need care. What do you think about that? Novi, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. I want to say that because right now, 80% of our members lose their jobs, and of course they don't have social benefits. Yeah, that is the most important advocacy for us as an organization in the Philippines. So it's really hard for us, and of course we do some sort of social dialogues to be able to get them a livelihood program for the domestic workers who lose their jobs. So it is necessary for us to voice our this. We will use this venue about the care workers or care economy. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yes. So basically, the message from Novi is that domestic workers have been suffering the enormous impact, right, from the COVID-19, and we also need to be included in the social security or social benefits, and to basically also improve, or to be engaged and to be included in the social dialogue with the government in regard to the social policy. Okay, next. We got a lot of people here. We got 64 people. I would like to invite any one of you who have any ideas. It doesn't have to be those from Asia. From those who are outside Asia, you can also speak. So basically, yes, once again, we have covering issues about migrant domestic workers. We have also been covering issues about recognizing domestic work as work through the inclusion of the policy. We've also been talking about caring for domestic workers, giving them social securities and benefit, including domestic workers in the social dialogue. Anything else? So if I
Nikan,
yes, sure.
yeah. May I share some idea?
Cool.
Regarding that, like care workers, I think some people they don't know, they do not understand well who are care workers. It's about in Cambodia we don't have that some kind of word, maybe like something like very new.
Yeah.
So I think social media is very important. First, I think we should spread the idea who are care workers to the social media. In Cambodia, we can make a campaign about that and spread information about that to make the other people know, to make the Cambodian people know that care workers are workers. Care workers are people who work for salary for their survival as other people. So I mean, we can use social media to spread the information to everyone in the region or in other countries in the world. This is what I want to share. Yes.
Okay, thank you, our brother from Cambodia, on the importance of campaign to basically mainstream the word, the term care workers itself, because it is not actually popular in Asian context. I agree with you. Even in Bahasa Indonesia, for example, we don't also have like an appropriate word to basically call the care economy or care workers. We have like nurse, which also the term is like close to care, but we know it's different. So campaign to basically um to educate and to make the care workers itself more inclusive.
Yes.
Next, do we have any more opinion? I know that even if the term is not very popular, but most of you here from the insightful sharing from three wonderful speakers have already you already got the idea of the concept of the care workers. You can maybe reflect on your own condition, unions, your members' conditions. Do they basically also covering care work? Are and do they even compensate fairly for the caring, for the services that they are giving to the family? When we're talking about working condition, which is very basic, the wage protection, for example. And maybe we want to also talk about skill training, something that maybe domestic workers also need to upskill their service, for example. In the Asian context, I know that some countries basically sort of distinguish distinguish between domestic worker and care workers based because they think that domestic workers have different set of skill with those care workers. But actually, when you're talking about many migrant domestic workers in Taiwan and Hong Kong, for example, what they do is just basically caring for people. They also provide direct care service to the
You
people.
mean,
Yeah.
hi,
Yes.
you mean is like the training on being a domestic worker and the training course of being a care worker. Is that what you mean?
Yes, meaning the skill training for domestic workers.
Oh, you know,
What do you
basically
think about it?
our
Yes.
skill training for domestic worker, we took it in our training before we go to abroad. If they are domestic worker going to Singapore or to Hong Kong, they are need to take care. I need to take a course of housekeeping, especially those how to operate the vacuum, how to operate the washing machine.
Yes, right. Yeah.
And for the care workers, it's like how you transfer
We are not listening.
the sick worker to the wheelchair, how to take care of the bedridden.
Yes.
Actually, we can say we are expert for this. We can say
Yes.
we are very expert for this work. But you know, the problems that we are facing now is many workers are not are don't have a decent wage. That is the
Yes.
problem. In the training there is no problem because we are expert for it, but training the employer, or we give a very fair service to the family that we are work for, but those brokers and the employers are not treating us with decent living. So that's the common problem, and that's the problem that uh, we need to help each other to unite in Asia. So that's my opinion about when we are talking about the training, and if they are giving us a proper training, of course there is.
Yes. Okay, Bonang, thank you. Uh, totally agree with your point that despite the enormous works that domestic workers have to provide to the family, we never got compensated fairly for our works that we're doing. So that is why you highlighted here the importance of raising the awareness of the employers uh, to to provide, and also the most important thing is pushing to the government to include domestic workers into the policy. I totally agree with you. Anything else, sisters?
May I say something?
Sure. Sure, Bonang, do you have anything else to say? Okay, so if not, I would basically just um, sort of review what coming up from the floor. The first is that the importance of including migrant domestic workers as a provider, as a care workers within the labor policy in the destination countries. That's the first. The second one is, of course, recognizing domestic workers as work, like what Lizelle say. Um, this is obviously to include domestic workers. Yeah, the same demand again into the law. And then the third one, uh, the point from Novelita is basically domestic workers also need care in terms of having the safety net, having the social security benefits, especially that we are highly impacted because of the COVID pandemic. And then the next, we got also interesting input from Cambodia that it is important for us to, uh, because we're in the Asian context where care workers, care economy is not really familiar. It is important that we do campaign on social media to make the care workers term popular and more inclusive, that it can also cover domestic workers, that domestic workers can also relate to it. And then the next one is yes, so basically like what Bonang said, this is not the skill problem, but again, this is that this is because domestic workers are never being recognized and not compensated fairly for the care works that we are providing. Therefore, it is important to train or to raise awareness among the employers to and the government obviously to give us a fair treatment. What is this? Um,
Mute the this Galaxy 8 S8 Plus. Maybe can mute her or him.
Hi, Niken. May
Yes.
I add something?
Sure.
Yeah, I think related on the venue campaign, we also can use the moment on the campaign C189 and then C190. And then if I'm reflect to, like, for example, to the Malaysia context, and in some of countries like Singapore, that there are people, I mean, some of us, we are not really understand on the what is a care work. So in the same time that we are giving a educate to the workers in care work sector, then we can expand our organizing process on that. I think this is also important part. If we are talking about campaign, it can be separate with the organizing parts. Yeah, I think that's all from me.
Yeah, okay, so basically Maria basically also just providing an inputs on how we can leverage the campaign, make use of the campaign of C189 and C190 on the care work and care sectors itself, and also sort of seconding the inputs that in Asian context we really need to start educate and raising awareness, starting from uh, telling people what actually care, who are care workers, and why domestic workers is also a part of care workers.
Okay.
Yes.
As here in Malaysia, there are a lot of caregivers. They really call them caregivers, but of course their papers is domestic workers, because no sector who are caregivers, but
Yeah.
they are still trained as a caregiver.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Well, they are still not part of
Yes.
the law.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I think most of the people already came back to the main rooms. We haven't really decided who wants to present. I would give it to the leaders in the breakout room for Asia group. Who wants to present? Is it?
Okay, sorry. If everybody in already binary.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
already
I
like
know.
110.
Okay, so we have everybody came back from the breakout room. I hope you enjoy this breakout room discussion. Sorry again that due to technical problem, some of you we tried many times to add you into the breakout room, but it ended up failed. So I'm very, very sorry for that. So some of you have been left behind from your group and being like hearing the Asian all the time. We are sorry again. So in any case, this is our first trial to organize breakout room in a Zoom meeting in IDWF. We hope next time the Zoom application can be improved so that we can have it successfully. So due to time constraint, we don't need you to make report from every group, but we would like to request all the facilitator in each of the group to email us your note, and then we will compile all the reports from each group, including the presentations and the discussions, and then send all of you a report instead. Sorry for that. I hope we can have more time so that we can hear your voices. We can hear the affiliates' voice, but unfortunately, we don't have that kind of time, but we will keep the communication through emails and WhatsApp and Facebook. So before we end, we would like to hand over the floor to Elizabeth to give us a closing remarks. And also in the chat box, we have also sent to you the video link that we shared. So hand over to you for the closing, Elizabeth.
Yes, this has been quite long meetings. And thank you each and every one of you for being very, very attentive and very, very participative. And I like especially to thank the presenters, Dartmoor, Carmen, and Grace for your very, very good presentation, really informative, and also giving us a lot of ideas. And for all of us, I want you to remember that this is just the beginning. Believe me, you will hear care work, care economy more and more in the future, because this is something the UN agencies, a lot of UN organizations, the UN Women, the ILO, and also a lot of our funders would like to use this as an opportunity to push for decent work, for better rights and social protection for domestic workers. And as I have said, we believe some of the governments will pick up this topic in their policy making. And whether they are serious or not serious, they will try to do something, to be seen as doing something. But we domestic workers must not let them, just to do something on paper. If they talk about decent work or investing in care economy, investing in care work, we must make sure that they have domestic workers included. we have heard from our three speakers, and we clearly see that whether they are called care workers, home care workers, child care providers, or in-house care workers, what they do, what we do as domestic workers in Africa, in Asia, everywhere, we also do this kind of work. They ask for better pay, they ask for investment in social care, in child care, they ask for immigration reform, they want equality for people, no matter what color of the skins are. These are the same goals, objectives of domestic workers of IDWF anywhere. So there's no reason for us to stand isolated. We must and can only join all the workers together working in the care sector so that we will become bigger. We will grow our federation, we will grow our network to even bigger so that we have more power to work for change, to achieve what we have always been struggling for, the ratification of C-189, the ratification of C-190. To achieve this, we just need more power. We just need more people. So when we say we are part of the care work, we will use this opportunity to grow our network, to grow the federation. So from now on, you will hear more from the IDWF on our program, our activities under the banner care work or care economy. So I hope this Zoom meeting has helped you to understand more about us being part of the care workforce. And we will read all your reports and we will share them so that you also get to know what is being discussed in the next room. And then from there, we will move on to the next step. And every step we take, we will let you know what is the IDWF plan is. And of course, you are always welcome to give us your input. And then finally, I just want to remind you what Myrtle, our president, has said in the opening. That is the Global Day of Action on Care will be next week, October 29. This Global Day of Action on Care is a joint effort by IDWF and the ITUC and other global union federation, which also represent care workers such as nurses, doctors, medical staff. But now we have joined hands together because we have common demand that is government must invest in public health, must invest in public care so that we domestic workers will also enjoy the protection. So with that, I thank you again. And last but not the least, I want to thank the interpreters. You have done a very hard job and a wonderful job. Without you, we will not hear anything. And also all my colleagues who have been working the whole day backstage and to make this event so successful. So see you next time, and for sure you will hear us again.
Hi,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Wait for a while, don't leave. We would like to have a group photo. Don't leave. We would like to have a group photos. So how to do that? Turn on your camera, everybody, turn on your camera, and then we will do a screen grab to have that group photos. Is it fine? So please stay on. We will have a group photo together.
Fish, my camera is.
It's okay. So just.
Yo no puedo poner mi
It's okay.
foto.
Just try. Okay, I have the first.
What should I turn
slide.
on?
Yeah, the camera. Okay, I'll say 1, 2,
No se
3,
puede.
and then we will have the first group photo. So if you can turn on, you can turn on. If you cannot, it's still fine. So we have the first slide.
No
Viva
podemos ponerlo.
IDWF!
No podemos habilitar la cámara.
Okay,
No
I
se
will
puede
say.
habilitar.
Wait.
No,
Wait.
no.
Exacto, tienen que habilitarnos la cámara para poder entonces abrirla.
Okay,
Fish, you have to, many Latin Americans cannot put their camera on. Okay.
face for the second page. Viva IDWF! Now we have our second group, and then we will have we have 6 groups actually because we have. Okay, we will have the third group, and then again show your most beautiful face or the heart. 1, 2, 3, Viva! Okay, and then we will have the third group.
Viva!
Yeah, you know, even we are not together. We can make group photo. Yes, that is technology. Okay, we have the fourth group. The fourth group have the screen again.
El anfitrión es que no nos permite habilitar la cámara.
The fourth group, camera on, and then I will have the camera.
Fish, many Latin Americans cannot put the camera on.
We still have 2 more groups, please. Stay. Okay, we have the fifth group now. The second to the last.
Viva, viva, viva la pita.
Yeah, viva. You have to keep on saying viva, viva, because it takes time. Okay, we will have the last group. Viva, camera on, the last group.
Viva!
Okay, so we have the group photo done. Thank you so much. We have group photo. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Have a good sleep. Good dream. Dream for love.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias.
Obrigada.
Obrigado. Thank you. Goodbye.
Can we get the videos?
Yes, we have recorded the video. And Max, bye-bye.
Selamat malam.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks all the interpreters.
Bye-bye.
For the group facilitator, please send us the regional report group discussion.
Thank you,
Remember. And Rula is asking that she will write the report. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a good day, good sleep. I will end the meeting now. Although many of you seems like don't want to leave, I will end you now by force. Goodbye.
It's time to sleep.
So I asked Matt to force